So, you know how everyone's debating whether America is falling apart? It's not really falling, it's more like someone's actively dismantling it in broad daylight while we're all busy watching TikToks. Apparently, over 5,400 stores just vanished in the first 10 months of 2025, and the national mood, just fantastic. Suicides are at a 50-year peak, mortgage defaults jumped by 37%, and 20 million households are playing a fun game of which utility gets paid this month, all while other countries are treating the US dollar like it's a coupon for a free blockbuster rental. The Fed is cornered, and the banks look nervous. Oh, and my favorite part, the FBI pretty much admitted they can't keep track of all the crazy stuff brewing inside the country. So if you're sitting there thinking, don't worry, an adult will step in, congratulations, you're the adult now. Surprise. You basically got one job. Figure this out or become a statistic in a country that's unraveling. Want to know how the super rich know something big is coming? They're not waiting for a news alert on their phones. They're looking at one simple thing: risk. And absolutely nobody is better at pricing out a total disaster than the insurance industry. In just the last year, 83% of the companies that insure homes have either cranked up their prices, ghosted entire zip codes, or just packed up and left whole states. The average homeowner's insurance in Florida just hit $6,000 a year, which is more than 4 times the national average. California is losing insurers so fast it's becoming a meme. But here's the little secret they don't share on the business channels. It's not just about fires and hurricanes anymore. It's about them betting on social chaos, seeing our crumbling infrastructure, and watching a financial system so shaky that a stiff breeze could knock it over. Insurance companies are literally paid to predict the future 5 to 10 years out, and let's just say what they're seeing isn't exactly a peachy rom-com. According to the Insurance Information Institute, payouts for natural disasters have tripled since 2017, and those billion-dollar oopsies went from about 3 a year back in the 90s to over 20 in 2024 alone. You think that's a sustainable business plan? They don't. They're quietly sneaking out the back door, hoping you don't notice until they're gone. You're already seeing the early signs, though. Ever look at your car insurance bill and think, wait, why did this double? It's not because you suddenly started driving like a maniac. It's because they're making you prepay for the coming chaos. They know that, as roads fall apart and traffic systems fail, claims are gonna explode. So they're getting your money now, while you still have some. And guess what happens when it all really goes sideways? When the grid finally gives up, when the riots kick off, when monster storms are a weekly special, you're going to try and file a claim, and they'll just point to some fine print on page 72 called force majeure. Translation: sorry, not our problem, act of God or civil unrest. That's not me being a conspiracy theorist. That's the exact legal escape hatch they're building for themselves. So, you have to ask, if the one industry that profits from stability is sprinting for the exits, what does that say about where this train is headed? Most people still have this quaint idea that America's power grid is some invincible wonder, with teams of geniuses and backup plans for everything. Here's the reality check. We are one hot summer or one cold weekend away from a nationwide blackout. The people who actually run the thing know it. The North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, has already issued its third high risk of blackout warning this year, and it's not even December. Back in 2023, over a quarter of the entire country had at least one power outage that lasted longer than 8 hours. And not because of a storm. It was due to ancient equipment, overloaded stations, and a demand for juice that the system just can't handle. Texas nearly went full-on pioneer mode in 2021 just because it got a little chilly. California's rolling blackouts are so common now that nobody even bothers to complain anymore. And get this, those are the states that are actually prepared. You have to understand, our power grid was designed back in the 1950s. Most of it hasn't seen a meaningful upgrade since then. The transformers are so old that we have to import 90% of them from other countries, with a wait time of up to 2 years. Let that sink in for a minute. If just 10% of our key transformers got wiped out by a cyber attack or a bad storm, the power wouldn't be out for days. It would be out for months, possibly years. No lights, no heat, no fridge, no internet. And here's the best part. Homeland Security quietly admitted in a 2024 report that during a major winter storm, the grid could only support 40% of the needed power. 40%. That's not a worst-case scenario. That's the number they're telling us publicly. So what are they hiding? Meanwhile, our enemies are paying attention. Russia and China have been poking at our power grid for years in their little war games. In 2024 alone, the U.S. saw over 15,000 attacks on its energy infrastructure, a 450% jump from just 2 years ago. These aren't bored teenagers in a basement. These are other countries practicing for a digital war. So the next time your lights go out, ask yourself, is it just the weather, or is the show starting? Most people won't know the difference until their phone is dead, the heat is off, and the silence gets really, really loud. By that point, it's way too late. Take a walk through any local shopping center. What do you see? Empty storefronts, for lease signs, and parking lots you could land a plane in. That's not just a slow economy. That's a five-alarm fire. Retail is the canary in the economic coal mine, and that bird is dead. In just the first half of 2025, over 3,500 brick-and-mortar stores have closed down. We're talking big names: Walgreens, Macy's, Family Dollar, Rite Aid, Foot Locker. And the scariest part? A lot of them were still making money. They just weren't making enough times money. The new standard for survival in retail is insane, and if you don't hit the mark, you're toast. You think this is just about Amazon? No, this is what happens when the middle class goes extinct. We have an economy built on people buying stuff, but we're running out of people who can afford to buy anything. Retail runs on one thing: disposable income. And in 2025, that's basically a myth. The rate of people not paying their credit cards just hit 10.7%, a 12-year high. People aren't just missing car payments. They're putting freaking groceries on credit cards and praying. The average American household is now buried under $11,000 in credit card debt, and with interest rates near 21%, paying it off is a mathematical impossibility. So what's next? The stores close, the jobs go away, the supply chain gets weird, and then your town starts to look like a ghost town. It begins with the Dollar General closing, then the grocery store, then the pharmacy. And suddenly you have to drive 45 minutes just to get some aspirin, assuming you can afford the gas. But this is bigger than convenience. When retail stores close, they're like severed arteries for a community. Local money dries up, crime rates climb, property values plummet, and the whole social scene just rips apart. Look at what's happening. This isn't about shoplifting. This is a complete breakdown of the consumer system. If you think your neighborhood is immune, you haven't been paying attention. The collapse is already happening. It's just making its way down the street to you. You've probably been in the grocery store lately and had that thought, that's odd. Why is the pasta aisle half empty again? Or maybe you've noticed the meat just looks weird: smaller packages, ridiculous prices, and brands you've never heard of. That isn't a supply chain hiccup. That's the system quietly breaking down. In 2025, America's food system is failing from the inside out, and it's all happening with a smile. The government's own stats show U.S. farm bankruptcies jumped 25% in just the second quarter of this year. You know what that means? Hundreds of small, family-run farms are just gone. And when they disappear, the land gets bought up by megacorporations and foreign investors. Bill Gates is now the biggest private owner of farmland in America. China owns over 350,000 acres. You think that's just a business venture? That's called leverage over our food. At the same time, industrial food production is a mess. Bird flu has killed millions of chickens in 2024 alone, which is why eggs are up 62% in some places. The wheat crop in the Midwest. So, remember how the biggest crisis at the grocery store used to be when they were out of your favorite oat milk? Yeah, those were the days. Now, because the weather's gone completely bonkers, farmers are getting slammed and crop yields are down, like 18%. So in the big cities, they're starting to quietly ration stuff. Not officially, of course. It's more of a soft launch. You just notice the shelves are a little emptier, the shipments are smaller, and there's a security guard giving your bag of Tostitos the side eye. Freaking Dollar Tree just announced they're yanking the fridges and freezers from over 1,000 stores. Not because people stop loving frozen burritos, but because keeping them cold now costs more than the food itself. It's nuts, and you're gonna love what they're replacing actual food with. Get ready for lab-grown mystery meat, flour made from crickets, and some kind of soy sludge they press into burger-shaped discs. The best part? They don't even have to tell you it's in there. The FDA just greenlit lab-grown chicken without a label. That's right, you could be chowing down on a nugget that was grown in a giant metal tank and have absolutely no clue. And if you dare to ask why, they'll just smile and say it's all for sustainability. But come on, just follow the money. It's always the same guys: BlackRock, Vanguard, and a few other corporate overlords funding all this synthetic food tech. They're not doing it to save the planet. They're doing it because they know what's coming. A massive food shortage. This isn't some conspiracy theory, dude. It's just them cornering the market on starvation. So what are you supposed to do? I don't know. Start a pathetic little tomato plant on the balcony. Stock up on rice and beans, doomsday prepper light style. You gotta learn how to store food for the long haul, because the next time something breaks: a storm, a trucker strike, some nerd hacking a food warehouse, it won't just be a 2-day Wi-Fi outage. That'll be the starting pistol. The second the shelves are bare, the panic shopping begins, and then it's every man for himself. Cities are basically just giant, expensive traps, and you'll be locked in when it all goes down. They used to call cities the heartbeat of America. Well, in 2025, that heart is having a major cardiac event. Just look at New York, Chicago, L.A. The writing is on the wall in giant, spray-painted letters. Crime is skyrocketing, the subways are crumbling, businesses are boarding up for good, and the worst part is all the people who are stuck. Because let's be real, if you don't already have the cash to get out of a major city, you're probably never going to. My rent has jumped over 35% since 2020, but my actual paycheck, when you factor in inflation, has gone down. Explain that math to me. The number of homeless people in big cities is up 18% from just last year. That's not a fluke, it's poverty by design. And this is where it gets really sketchy. These cities are broke and falling apart, but they keep everyone pacified with just enough government cash, just enough convenient apps to keep you from realizing you're in a cage. Think about it. You literally need an app to pay for parking, to ride a train, to order a pizza. What do you think happens if the power grid or the internet just decides to take a day off? If one single system crashes, millions of people are instantly screwed. You can't get food, you can't call for help, you can't even get out of my apartment building. Because the stupid gate is electric. All the things that were supposed to make city life so efficient, public transit, the cell network, are now just giant vulnerabilities. A single point of failure. One bored hacker could shut the whole thing down. One viral rumor could cause a citywide stampede. You think I'm just being dramatic? Look at what went down in Austin this year when one power station died during a heat wave. Thousands of people lost power and AC for 5 days. The 911 lines were totally jammed, the water stopped pumping, and the hospitals had to start rationing oxygen tanks. That was one city, for 1 week. Now imagine that happening everywhere. And don't think you can just pack a bag and leave when it gets bad. Nope, that's when they lock the doors. Roadblocks, checkpoints, gas rationing, curfews. If you're still in the city when it really goes sideways, you're no longer a person. You're a liability. You're part of the mob. You're a statistic. The time to get out isn't when you hear the sirens. It's right now, before you do. The government is already running drills on how to control us, and we're the guinea pigs. There are a few phrases you never wanted to hear together. Phrases like central bank digital currency, social credit, and emergency powers. But in 2025, that's not a sci-fi movie plot. It's the beta test, and you're in it. They're doing it quietly, strategically. Every new power grab is disguised as a pilot program, a convenient new service, or a response to some crisis. But if you scratch the surface, you can see the framework for a system designed to slam shut the second things get messy. Let's start with their digital dollar. As of this summer, the Federal Reserve has started testing a digital currency through back channels with the big banks. They're not calling it that publicly, of course, but the tech is there. They've got cute code names for it, working with MasterCard, and all the usual suspects to turn money into code. That means your money will come with terms and conditions. They can literally decide what you're allowed to spend it on. Want to buy a second case of beer this week? Access denied. Want to buy ammo for a hunting trip? Purchase blocked. Want to give your nephew $50 in cash? Not a chance, unless it's tracked. This isn't some far-off dystopian fantasy. They are road testing it right now. And it's not just money. In May, Homeland Security ran a practice drill for a national digital lockdown, and their excuse for it? To fight misinformation. Right. But the tools they were testing involve cutting off cell service in certain areas, slowing down your internet, and hitting a kill switch on social media. That tech is already baked into your phone, your internet service, and all your apps. You won't even see it coming. 1 minute you're scrolling, the next your text won't send, your posts disappear, and your bank app logs you out. It'll feel like a random glitch, but it'll be completely intentional. And that brings me to the final act, the one nobody is ready for. Some kind of manufactured crisis. A cyber attack they blame on another country, a technical glitch at a major bank, a mysterious power outage. And what'll be their perfect solution? Total digital control over everything. Just temporarily, of course. For your safety. History doesn't repeat, man. It just gets worse. And America is teetering right on the edge. When the system locks down, it's not going to ask for your permission. It's going to demand your obedience. And most people, because they're exhausted and scared, will just roll over and accept it. Just don't be one of them. They're creating a new American underclass, and you're either in it or you're not. We have to stop pretending the middle class is still a thing. That's a fantasy, like affordable housing or paying off my student loans. All we have now is a massive gulf between people living in a fantasy world and the reality that everything is falling apart. And the bottom 70% of the country, we're all just sliding into a permanent underclass where you'll never own a home, never get ahead, and have zero control over your own damn life. If you can't see it yet, you're just not paying attention. Here, let me give you some fun numbers that don't make it to the evening news. 62% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, according to some survey this year. But here's the insane part. Nearly half of those people make over $100,000 a year. Let that sink in. You can be making six figures and still be one bad week away from being totally broke. Meanwhile, owning a home, that whole American dream bedrock, is basically impossible for a normal person now. The average house costs over $430,000, but the average family income is stuck at $74,000. You do the math. Even with a perfect credit score and a 20% down payment, you can't buy a house without spending like 60% of your pre-tax income just to keep a roof over your head. That's not living, that's being a servant to your mortgage. And at the same exact time, giant corporations and hedge funds are buying up entire neighborhoods. BlackRock, all those guys are turning America into a nation of renters. So you're either paying their mortgage by renting from them, or if you somehow manage to own, you're paying the government a fortune in property taxes. You get squeezed from both sides. And now you've got AI coming to replace all the desk jobs and robots taking over the rest. The question isn't times if times you'll fall behind, it's times when asterisk. And what do you think they'll roll out when millions of us can no longer pay the bills? Ding, ding, ding. Social credit systems. So they're building this whole system, right? Not to punish you out loud, but to just gently nudge you into a corner. Think less prison, more your Uber rating mysteriously dropping to 0 because you liked the wrong tweet. You're not arrested. You're just permanently inconvenienced. So when old people say this is the land of opportunity, they're not totally wrong. It is if your dad already owns the place. For the rest of us, welcome to the new subscription-based reality, and you don't have a premium account. It's all invisible, it's all on a server somewhere, and dude, it's already running. People are like, the dollar will never die, it's the world's money. And yeah, that's true, right up until the exact moment it isn't. Because history is pretty clear on this, world currencies don't just fade away gracefully. They're like a Jenga tower. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And then it's a pile of blocks on the floor. Instantly. And if you've been watching, and trust me, the super rich have been the whole setup for the big crash is already built. We are way past the uh-oh stage. For starters, more than 130 countries are in a group chat figuring out how to stop using our money. China and Brazil literally made a deal last year to use their own cash. Saudi Arabia is taking other currencies now, and Russia basically ghosted the dollar entirely. This crew called the BRICS, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is already a bigger deal economically than the old-school G7, and they're cooking up their own currency backed by actual gold. When that thing drops, it's game over for our dollar, which is basically backed by oil and vibes. Meanwhile, you know my student loans. The country has a credit card bill that just blew past $35 trillion. That's over 100 grand for every man, woman, and child. For those of us actually paying taxes, it's over $250,000. Good luck with that. Just paying the interest on that debt now costs more than the entire military. You get what that means, right? Every single dollar you're trying to save is literally evaporating from your account as we speak. This inflation thing isn't a glitch in the system. It's the system. It's a tax for being poor. The dollar has lost 98% of its value since your great-grandpa was born, and the guys in charge are totally trapped. If they raise interest rates to fix it, the economy goes into a death spiral. If they lower them, a loaf of bread will cost $50. It's checkmate, and we're the pawns they're about to sacrifice. And still, most people treat the dollar like it's magic. They just pile their life savings into some checking account or a 401k they can't even explain, thinking it's safe. They have no clue that stuff is only as real as the paper money behind it. The second people get spooked, the whole thing doesn't just slow down, it's a server crash. Mass panic, everyone trying to get their money, and the banks just hitting the off switch. Temporary freezes on digital payments. You think your Venmo can't just stop working one day? Go ask someone in Argentina. This isn't a what if, it's a what time. And when it happens, it's not going to feel like some epic movie collapse. It'll just feel like waking up and realizing the game you were playing was rigged from the start. So ask yourself, what do you actually own times that some guy in a suit can't just delete overnight? Look, this next election is going to be a total dumpster fire, no matter who gets in. We need to stop pretending it's just business as usual. It's not a vote, it's a fuse that's already sparking. Seriously, no matter who wins in 2026, half the country will be screaming that it was rigged. That's not me being dramatic. That's literally what over half of America told a pollster this year. They straight up don't believe the system works anymore. That's not just a political disagreement, that's the beginning of a breakup. Every big empire in history didn't fall because of an army. It fell when people stopped believing the story. But what makes this time so much crazier is that both sides think they're the heroes in this movie. You've got conservatives who think they're saving the nation from some evil globalist plot, and liberals who think they're defending democracy from literal fascists. And what's in the middle? Absolutely nothing. No shared reality, no news everyone trusts. Just two separate teams living in their own social media bubbles, being fed rage bait 24/7 by an algorithm that's designed to make someone snap. And let's be honest, the whole machine loves it. The media, the tech companies, all of them, they make a killing off the chaos. It keeps us glued to our screens, justifies them, watching everything we do, and keeps us fighting each other instead of them. So when the fighting starts for real, and it will, they've got a whole script ready to go. You'll see martial law in some places, curfews, the National Guard rolling down streets. They'll launch investigations into their enemies and shut down what they call disinformation, all in the name of keeping you safe. It won't feel like tyranny. It'll feel like a software update. You thought 2020 was nuts? That was just the dress rehearsal. In 2025 alone, we've already had over 230 political attacks on candidates, reporters, judges. Trying to assassinate politicians is a thing again. Judges are making decisions from secret, safe locations, and these weirdo militia groups, on the left and the right, are getting bigger than anyone wants to talk about. You won't see it on the evening news, though. But behind the scenes, the feds are already drawing maps of which American cities are most likely to explode. Why? Because they know what's coming. This election won't pick a winner. It'll just reveal how screwed we are. And if you're not ready for some serious civil unrest, you're not paying attention, because once it starts, you don't get a do-over. There won't be a chance to wait and see. You'll just be in the middle of it. Nobody wants to say this out loud, but here's the truth. The United States isn't a country anymore. It's a brand that's going out of business from the inside. Not with some big war, but with a million little laws and rules and values that just don't match up. You're not living in one nation. You're living in a bunch of different regions that are just pretending to be on the same team, and the whole thing is starting to tear apart. Just look at it. As of 2025, more than half the states are pushing laws that basically give the middle finger to the federal government. We're talking about everything: guns, cops, abortion, what you can learn in school, even their own money. Texas is already running its own little border patrol, totally separate from the feds and basically